here we are. I want to talk about something that happened last night. I was in the sauna at my gym, and I've been going more regularly, just trying to be in my body more and train and lift and be a little bit more physical. I noticed that in the majority of my life, I spent a lot of time in my head. You know, I'm constantly thinking, I'm constantly calculating, I'm constantly just in my mind. And sometimes I forget that we live in a physical world too. And sometimes I forget how I feel. And sometimes I forget how, that I live in a body. I need to take care of it. So I was at the gym yesterday. I had this workout. I was lifting. It was great because it kind of like felt like I was back to normal in how I usually trained and worked out. And then after I went into the sauna, which saunas are just like my zone of peace. I love a good sauna. So I had my towel, on the upper raft of the sauna. I'm in there, I cross my feet, I'm in full meditation mode, cross my feet. And I've meditated for over 10 years. This is part of like my practice of trying to get out of my mind and more in my body. In the past few years, it's been really on and off. So I haven't really committed to the practice as much, but going to the sauna is a perfect time to just get into it. So I'm like, you know what? Haven't done this in a while. Let's move. Let's not move. Let's sit. Duh. So I had my towel, my feet are crossed, and I drop. I drop into myself, I'm breathing. And what's great is that meditation has really helped me to create a level of presence in my life. It's been able to give me space internally. And from that space, I don't have to react to the things around me. I can respond to the things around me. I'm not in reaction. I could take a second, look around, and respond to what's going on in my life. And meditation helps create that gap. And I'm in my meditation, and it's nice, it's great. I'm feeling it, and then something happened. I dropped deeper to another level that I didn't know existed. So instead of just being with my breath, okay, there's apparently like chaos outside. So I'm breathing, and I drop into a part of my body that I have felt like I've never been there before. And my breath dropped into my stomach. I was taking much more fuller breaths. I was almost like reaching like the root of my spine. And from this space, it was liberating in a lot of ways. And from this space, I was breathing so deeply into my nervous system. Things just shifted. So, my diaphragm opened up. My emotions opened up. I felt like it was scary because I felt like a little bit emotionally exposed. And what was crazy too is that, my mind was clear, but my throat, like I felt like it dropped an entire octave. It dropped low. And I finished that like 20 minutes, and I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Because this was something I'd never felt before. And I'm thinking through, what I've been doing the past few weeks, and I'm like, this is like an evolution of where I need to be going. I've been working around, I guess like the primary personal project in my life is how can I build more presence in my life so that I can contain myself more, so I can create a sense of safety and security for myself, but again, with other people. Because I find that if you can do that with yourself, you could do that with somebody else. You can make them feel safe, and you can invite them to go deeper into themselves, and help them realize a few truths about their life. I love that, I've done that so many times in my life. not only with the people that live here, but like, again, like with someone like my brother, you know, going on a walk and creating this like sense of safety and security and presence where I could pull out all of the things he's dealing with. I can empathize with them, and I can make people feel like they belong. And through that, help them figure out what they're ignoring and where they need to go to next. I find so much fulfillment doing that. Sometimes it's just emotional catharsis too. Having them go through this process where they open up, and it's almost like they're vomiting these emotions that they've been holding on to. And because they're letting go of them, because they're surrendering them, they're feeling them, and it like lodges out. They cry, they heave, they do whatever, and then after it's like freedom, it's catharsis. I love that. You know, I love that for myself. I love that for other people. So I've been building this this space within myself, and I've been doing that again through this project of being more open. I've been doing it through journaling, which is kind of where it started. And I think the next evolution has just been doing more breath work. And, you know, it's getting serious about meditation, but if anyone's ever heard of Wim Hof, he's all about breath work, and he's all about cold showers. This is a guy from Poland that I think he got to the danger zone on like Mount Everest in his like short shorts. It was like, he's ridiculous. He's like a psychopath. But he makes really good points about breath work, and I've done a few of his sessions on his app, and it gets my fingers tingling, gets my toes tingling. I feel like my cardiovascular, like my veins have gotten like a pump, and it like energizes me. And it's created a sense of depth, but I guess last night was just like a culmination of like the spiritual pursuits I've been doing, because I am still fasting, the physical pursuits I'm, you know, getting at, like physically breathing and going deeper and creating more safety for myself, and like the emotional, kind of like the emotional side too. And I realized that like growing up, the very thing that is my superpower, has been the thing that people have shamed me for or attacked me for or tried to close down within me. My greatest superpower is my ability to feel. You know, I feel in my gut. You know, when I meet someone, I can see through them. You know, I can speak to their emotions. I don't know if it was like, it's a natural talent of mine, or I don't know if this is something I had to develop growing up the way that I did, but I can just speak to how people are feeling in the moment and what they're holding back, and I can bring truth to light in emotions. And I recognized growing up, I didn't really have, I don't want to say I didn't have that space. Maybe I didn't have that space, but I always felt like I was being shut down, or I was shamed for that level of emotion. Like almost like my parents didn't know how to handle that or deal with it. And last night was powerful because after the session, after I went deeper into my body was telling me things that it was hiding from me for a long time. It was helping me understand dynamics I've been having with my mother, dynamics I've had with my father, the emotional underpinnings of how these things worked. I could see the overall pattern of like the context of my life, you know, what brought me to where I am today, you know, what made me who I am today emotionally. And that was, I mean, for a lot of us, that tracks back to our first relationships. And our first relationships, no matter who you are, is going to be your father and your mother. You know, my first relationship with a woman was with my mother. My first relationship with a man was with my father. So as much as people don't want to admit, it's like those are your first two relationships, and they're important because they give you, it's like the conditioning that you have for any other male or female relationship in your life. And then it just really made me understand like the relationship I have with the women out in my life, dating them, the relationship I have with men in my life, and how it all kind of came from these two people that raised me. And not just these two people, but how they raised me too. Everyone's got shit, and, part of me wants to be really pissed off and mad on how I grew up, and my parents and stuff like that. And some of that can be fair, but it helps me going through that and feeling those emotions and kind of seeing the bigger pattern. You can't help but have a certain empathy for these people that raised you, and a greater love, understanding and seeing the context of how they came to be too. So I felt like that was just really important to share, because like at that time, and this was literally just last night, I just could not believe I could go to that next level physically for me. And the way I looked at it, it was like, it was a way for the man that I'm meant to be to like call me forth. I felt like this was like, I unlocked a new level, and I was coming into a level of manhood that is like being unlocked to me, these secrets that are being unlocked. It was so freaking crazy. It's what tells me that the next part of my journey emotionally and, creating this space is through the body, is through breath work. I've internalized it. I've done the thought process to it. I've done the journaling. I'm doing the communication stuff, but like diving into the breath work and learning how to tap into emotions that are trapped in our bodies through breath and through our body is the next level of getting to know myself in a deeper level. Because when you feel things, when you go through things like trauma, all that anxiety, all that trauma, all those feelings that you want to ignore, they're buried in your body. Your body stores those feelings. Your body stores those emotions that you've gone through. And those could be emotional highs and those could be emotional lows. And sometimes those are so stored in our body that like we live our lives unconsciously, not knowing the forces that control ourselves. And I kind of want to strip away more of the conditioning of how I came to be me by going deeper and deeper inward and kind of cleaning out all of that, like all those remaining emotions that I've been having, and maybe emotions of like shame and emotions of like, I think a lot of it's just like my emotions of shame, and I don't even know if those are my emotions or the emotions that have been passed to me by other people that have been really close to me. So yeah, I've been toying with this idea of going to a breathwork specialist for like a few hours and having them like pretty much crack me open, creating a safe space for me, going into my breath and like pulling out and cleaning all these emotions that I've been having. And that idea has become more and more of a pull, So now I'm sitting here, I'm just like, damn, I need to like find a breathwork specialist that can hold that kind of space for me, that knows what they're doing, that knows what somatic releases, healing done through the body, and kind of deep diving into that. Everything's just starting to make sense. And I feel like I'm on this path for a reason, because if I could do this interior work with me and this breath work for me, I might want to do that for other people too. I might want to teach people how to journal. I might want to teach people how to journal and just get started in the idea of holding space and presence for themselves, gaining a sense of trust, and then maybe doing some sort of coaching with people, some sort of place where I actually hold space for people and we go through things and we try to uncover the things that are holding people back. And now I'm thinking about this breathwork stuff and working with my body and going deeper into myself. I'm like, damn, okay, maybe I can help crack people open with breathwork. So I'm starting to see this progression that I've not only gone through, but ways that I might want to help other people do the same. And it's been really like awesome. It's been really purposeful. Like it feels aligned with who I am, you know? I do this because I love doing it. I consider myself a cartographer of my own soul. You know, I'm a diver. I put on my mask, put on my breathing tube, and I like try to like dive deep into myself and kind of like feel out the walls of who I am. I want to know who I am, like at my deepest core, my deepest levels. Probably because I don't know who I am. Maybe because that's been like, I've been conditioned to be someone that I'm actually not, you know? It's like this journey, this deep journey of self-discovery. And like, this is certainly part of the process too, sharing this kind of stuff. And it's just like, there's so much more to me than I thought there was, you know? I think growing up, I played a lot. I need to make sure this camera's good. Okay, cool. We still got manual focus. We still got the good camera that doesn't stop. So, but growing up, I almost had to play a part like of a performer in a lot of ways. Felt like I was dressed up for events. I had to like be like almost like the perfect child, that I had to like perform and say hello to everyone and like kind of behave in a way that just looked good, not only for me, but for my family. And it taught me to be in the spotlight in a lot of ways, and it taught me to be charming in a lot of ways, and it taught me to, I don't know, hold attention, you know, and to talk to different people. And that's nice, but like, I think the negative aspects of that is like, I was playing a part, not just for myself. I wasn't playing a part for myself. I was playing a part for my family, you know, in events. And, you know, it did creep into my own life and how I showed up at certain things too. I guess like the main point I'm trying to make is that for a big part of my life, I think a lot of my behaviors have been performative. And I did that as a way to hide who I really was. You know, this like really more emotional and more connected guy than I thought I was. Because, you know, growing up too, I was shamed for being the emotional person that I am. There's a story in mind that I have about that, but I'm not going to tell it right now. Maybe as we keep going through this journey, I'll crack myself more and more open for you guys or for myself. But I just remember this one story, and I'll go into it in a little way, or, you know, to some depth. But like, I was given a gift, and I did not expect this gift at all, you know, and I was surprised. I was given a gift I was looking forward to by someone that I cared about, and it meant so much that I started tearing up. I started crying. I was grateful, you know, I was grateful. And then another person in my life kind of came into the room and like shamed me for that. It completely made me feel like I felt embarrassed for having feelings just like gratitude, like having a feeling of gratitude. I was embarrassed to feel that because I was crying and I was expressing that, and I was just being so open, you know, and vulnerable, and like owning it, you know. And I guess it was just so shitty to feel that level of embarrassment. You know, I felt like I was wrong for having these emotions, like something was up with me. And I didn't, like those feelings I learned later on, like what that person said to me had nothing to do with me. What that person said to me told me everything that, what that person said to me told me about the relationship that they were having with themselves, you know, and how surface level they had to be in a lot of ways, that emotions and me expressing mine became a threat to them. And when I learned that, it was just like, or when I saw that, it took some weight off my shoulders because I wasn't bearing this like feeling of like shame and embarrassment. It almost made me feel bad. It made me empathize with that person. And I keep going to this saying that like really changed my life. And that saying is, your reaction to others is your relationship with yourself. You know, I can't make you feel something without your permission. You can't make me feel something without my permission. So that person might have like said something that triggered me or triggered a sense of embarrassment or shame, but really it was just like, it was their inability to show their own emotions, and that helped me understand that person, helped me gain a level of empathy, and you know, it made me feel bad for that person. That person's close to me. It's like they're in my life, and yeah, it made me feel bad. You know, you start putting into context that there are people close to you that like are struggling in ways that you never thought, and it's all like this emotional thing, or this it's these invisible struggles we have each and every day. So that was a day where realizing that dynamic, it helped me see that person in a completely different light. And then I think from that point on, I can treat that person as they are, you know, and not take what that person says or does to me personally. It's a level of freedom, because it's not about us. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about us. It's about how other people react, or how, what am I trying to say? Most of the, I guess what I'm trying to say is like the way people react to you and the way people treat you, a lot of the time it probably has nothing to do with you. And there's like really a level of freedom in owning that and knowing that. And you can kind of start just to look at people and study them and go, okay, cool. You know, something I'm doing, or like maybe just the person that I am is triggering this person to behave in a specific way, or maybe something's going on in this person's life to have that person behave in a specific way. It just helps, I don't know, recognizing that just helps me understand that I don't think anything's personal. You know, everyone's out there doing their own thing, living their own lives, and like, I mean, everyone's got shit. Personally, emotionally, spiritually, nationally, economically, like on so many different levels, people have shit. But yeah, I guess I'm just saying, it's like, I recognize that, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, the way that this person's treating me has probably very little to do with me, and everything that has to do with like their own inner workings and what's going on in their own lives. And once you understand that, you become a very powerful person, because not only do you not take it personally, but you can almost, dare say, help them, hold space for that person, call forth a truth that they are ignoring. That's when you can start being useful and dangerous in empathy. Chris Voss talks about this in his book, Never Split the Difference. Amazing book on sales and negotiation. Amazing book. And he leads the whole thing about tactical empathy. You know, when you can empathize with somebody and get them on the same team as you're on, it's like game over. You know, it's not negotiations, and then relationships don't become adversarial. They become partnerships. They become collaborative, even if you're negotiating a deal. And a big part of that is just, he uses, oh man, come on. What is that tactic? His advice is labeling. That's what it is. And I notice that I do labeling all the time. It's, even if you're wrong, you can do this too. But it's naming the emotion the other person's having, or the dynamic that's having. So if somebody is like, it's almost like cold reading. So if someone's like upset and that tension is in the air, or if someone's disappointed and you feel that in the relationship, or if you feel that in, the situation that you're in, just fucking say it. You're disappointed. You're completely upset at, what's been going on here. And just calling it what it is. Like speak forth the emotional truth. And even if it's wrong, the beautiful thing is, even if it's wrong, they will correct you. They'll say, no, it's nothing to do with that. I'm actually really tired, or I'm disappointed about this thing. And it's just like, oh, okay, cool. You still got clarity. But if you do cold read that, correctly, it opens up a level of intimacy and depth like nothing else. If one of my friends is like just disappointed about something, I say, hey, you're really disappointed about this. They feel heard. They're like, oh my God, you're not just looking at me on the physical level, you're looking at me like underneath on my emotional level. They start opening up, and they start telling you everything. And then it becomes collaborative. And I guess that's what this presence work is doing. Or at least that's what I want this presence work to do. I want to expand my ability to hold space for myself, but for other people too. I want to invite people into that space, and I want to call forth the things that they're hiding so that they can face the truth, so that they can own who they are, that they can be in alignment and congruent with who they are, and so that they can figure out what the fuck they're here for. What's their purpose, who they actually are. That kind of catharsis, leading people to that has been such a gift for me, because it's a level of emotional freedom. And I want to move in a direction that helps people do that. I know the ClickFunnels stuff is great, and that's kind of like more of the structure and business side of things. And I've been going through that course, and it is like drinking water from a fire hydrant. I'm like 2 or 3% in, and I feel like I am deep diving into the material. It is so fucking good. I mean, the 2 or 3% alone could have been like a $2,000 course, and I would have paid it. This thing is like, I'm just getting into, that's just the tip of the iceberg. But there's this other side of me, that more emotional side, that wants to create that presence, wants to create that emotional freedom for people and lead them through that process of catharsis, where they understand the truth of who they are, without hiding, and owning that. And that's a beautiful thing. So that happened last night. I'm really excited about where things are going. I thought this was going to be like more emotional in general, because usually whenever I journal or talk about shit, it's like I'm complaining or going through something tough. So I feel like I'm not like expressing any of that side of me. So here I am, just like excited about life and enthusiastic, and seeing a path forward where I can help people in ways that mean a lot to me. Not only structurally and in a business way, but emotionally, and in a way where it invites people to discover themselves in new ways and own themselves and reclaim their power, And then from that point, you have clarity over your life, where you could create goals. You have a better sense of purpose, and you move in your life with a little bit more confidence and congruency, knowing who you are, knowing what you want. It's like scraping out all of the shit that is not you, and all that's left is the person that you are, without the weight holding you down. Everyone has a gift. I really fundamentally believe this. Everyone has a gift. Everyone has a purpose. And if I can help people gain that clarity and help them take the weights off themselves, where whatever's left is just that, like, them in their glory, in their, in just who they are, that's great. That's amazing. I want to do that more. Maybe that's my gift. I think it's my gift. But again, this is a journey. So, I mean, this is video number fucking 4. So it's like, let's let's take this to the logical conclusion. You know, let's go through this ClickFunnels course, this marketing course, and see what that can produce in my life. Let me continue to go deeper into myself and, you know, work into, like, get into breath work and get into more of like the somatic and body experiences and healing modalities, and see where this leads. Maybe it's a combination of both of these. Maybe that's my future. Maybe that's the way I get out, have the level of freedom I want in my life. So things are exciting. I'm grateful to be doing this. I'm excited to be doing this. Not just like these two things, but sharing this too, because I feel like I don't have a lot of outlets to share. And like the journaling is starting to get slow and everyone's busy with their shit. Again, I could probably just hire a therapist, and that's probably like a good move. I probably should do that. But this is definitely a little bit more creative and more fun. And if you're enjoying this, like, I'm glad you're here for the ride. I'm not trying to attract everybody. I'm trying to attract people that just vibe with what I'm doing and who I am. Really, I'm just kind of telling the truth, and using this as just an exercise for me. So if you're watching, know that I'm grateful for you. If you're watching, reach out, because I'd love to connect with more like-minded people that are interested in this kind of stuff, because I don't think it's normal kind of stuff, or what society deems as normal. And there's just a lot to be grateful for. And I'm here, grateful for where I am, grateful for what I have, what I've done, who I am, and the best is yet to come. So, love you.